Welcome everybody to maybe the coolest panel you've ever been to in your entire life. It's called What the Hemp, and I just want to say a quick shout out to Sarah Haas and Chris Sears from OR who helped put this thing together. We are so grateful to be a part of this organization, Outdoor Retailer. And I'm super happy to represent what we're going to talk about today. My name is Matt Lindsay. I'm from Charlotte's Web. I'm the Director of Social Responsibility over there. I've been in the hemp industry working alongside the Stanley Brothers since 2012, and can say from the bottom of my heart, being a part of the pioneering group to establish a brand new industry is an unexpected joy and deep honor. So I have tons of gratitude to stand up here, especially with the likes of these folks here who I'll introduce in just a minute. But this is not about Charlotte's Web specifically at all. It's really, this is about a birth of a new industry. And this is an opportunity for you to come here and kind of learn what in the hell is going on with hemp. Why is it here? What's going on with these products that so many people are talking about? And what does it mean to you? Why do you want to have it in your store? Why are your athletes taking it and using it? In fact, I just want to make a quick shout out to our friendly competitors and friends down at Section B at the CBD Wellness section. I want to encourage everybody to go down there and check out what's going on. There's some phenomenal brands. I'll just say their names right here. CBD Medic, Medterra, Nature's Roots, Aphix, Mayaderm CBD, Oleo, Functional Remedies, Omax Health, Body Check Wellness, Pickle Juice, and Nirvana. Come check them out. We're all together. We're all downstairs by the food truck, so it's a perfect place to go and then ask further questions about what you're going to hear today. I'm going to introduce this group here, and we're gonna all share just a few minutes of our areas of expertise and why this group is here. But I want you all to just kind of gaze at these amazing people. Without each member here, without their specific contribution and their area of expertise, without their passionate, dedicated, consistent contribution to the hemp industry, we would not be where we are, literally. This group has forerun so many different things, so many different aspects, and so I'm grateful for them, to you all, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come share with us today and share knowledge about hemp and what's going on in the world today. So I hope you're excited about that. We're going to open up for questions so that you all have the opportunity to ask maybe something that's burning in your mind and your heart about hemp and about products or about legality or the myriad of things that are going through your mind about this. So let's see here. I'll start off introducing with Jonathan Miller here. If Jonathan, you can raise your hand. I'm just going to read Jonathan's bio. Really grateful for Jonathan. Jonathan serves as the General Counsel to the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, the hemp industry's leading national business advocacy organization with member companies and organizations that represent every link of the hemp production chain from seed to sale. Jonathan also serves as the member in charge of the Frost Brown Todd law firm in Lexington, Kentucky, where he has emerged as one of the nation's leading advocates for legalization of hemp. Upon leading successful lobbying efforts that laid the groundwork for the new laws that legalize hemp and hemp-derived CBD, Miller serves as a trusted counsel to dozens of companies in the industrial hemp space, with his full-service complement of law partners offering client counsel on issues ranging from intellectual property to corporate transactions to FDA regulation. Additionally, Miller has led the successful legal battle against the DEA's 2014 efforts to ban the importation of hemp seeds for the Kentucky pilot program. In his nearly 2 decades of public service, Miller had held numerous senior positions in state and federal government, including 2 terms as Kentucky's elected state treasurer, serving as Kentucky's Secretary of Finance and Admin, as Deputy Chief of Staff of the U.S. Department of Energy, and as a legislative director for Congressman Jim Cooper. Dear Lord, slow down, man. No, Jonathan was also the first person to address the FDA on, May 15th, when the industry the May 31st. So Jonathan's right in the thick of it, right at the leading edge of of helping us all further legitimize this industry. Joy Beckerman, celebrity, over here. Raise your hand, please. Joy has been involved in the hemp industry for over a quarter of a century and is the president of the Hemp Industries Association, which was founded in 1994. As well, she is the vice president of the U.S. Hemp Authority, which created the first CGMP and GAP standards for the hemp industry. Joy is also the regulatory officer and industry liaison for Elixinol, an international leader in high-quality hemp extracts and CBD products, as well as the principal hemp specialist at Hemp Ace International, a New York-based consulting, legal support, and expert witness firm serving the global community. In addition to being a renowned educator and public speaker, Joy works directly with lawmakers and regulators as a grassroots activist, both proactively and upon request. Thank you, Joy, for being here. Annie Brown, please raise your hand. If you guys have seen this little cute sticker on products that says USDA organic. You've all seen that on products? She created that. Not really, but she's part of that team. She's part of one of the most important institutions on the planet today, the Rodale Institute, based in Pennsylvania. Annie is the development director for Rodale. Has been with Rodale since 2012. But without Rodale and their proactive research, their active research, not just with hemp and soil research and organic research, but through regenerative organic certification that they're developing right now, which I know many of you have heard about. We are all indebted to the Rodale Institute for how much work they have done to bring a spotlight towards research on soil health and beyond. And hopefully for generations to come, we will all lean on the Rodale Institute for their expertise. So thank you, Annie, for being here. Dr. Trey Riddle, please raise your hand. Thanks again for being out here, brother. Dr. Riddle is the CEO and founder of Sunstrand, the leading supplier of hemp fiber and other sustainable materials for technical and industrial applications. Sunstrand currently operates 2 industrial-scale commercial hemp decortication facilities in North America. The company has hemp products adopted in automotive, apparel, animal care, construction materials, and consumer goods. Dr. Riddle is the former president of the Kentucky Hemp Industries Association and member of the Hemp Industry Roundtable. He started his career in engineering, performing accelerated structural testing on wind turbine blades. Prior to Sunstrand, he founded Gradient Engineering, an engineering service firm focused on polymer composite applications. Dr. Riddle received his BS and PhD in mechanical engineering from Montana State and his master's from Cornell University. Super happy to have you here, man. Phil Taylor, please raise your hand. Please stand up. Now, this is our resident poet, Phil Taylor. Phil recently sat on multiple panels with Rose Macario, CEO of Patagonia, out at Expo West recently, speaking specifically about his area of expertise around carbon farming and soil health. Phil is the founder of Mad Agriculture, and in my opinion, one of the most imperative organizations right up there with Rodale Institute, which is guiding farmers and communities towards diverse carbon-rich agro-ecosystems and education on carbon farming, why it matters, what it is. Which, carbon farming proves to be a much more resilient to environmental and economic stress than conventional farming. Sorry, that was a horrible sentence. I didn't say that well. He's going to come back after me and clean that up and let you know exactly what he does. The carbon farming kind of the whole paradigm is a new thing for a lot of us. So I'm excited for Phil to talk about that, how it ties into hemp. But Mad Agricultural's mission is to reimagine and restore our relationship with Earth through story, community, and the practice of good agriculture. One more page here. I want you all to go to madagriculture.org and check it out. There's a lot underfoot there. Along with everything that Phil does with Mad Agriculture, he's also a fellow at the University of Colorado, where he teaches the future of food in the Masters of Environmental Food Science program. He has a diverse international experience in both private and public sectors and led research and outreach campaigns throughout Africa, Latin America, and Asia. Really grateful for you to be here, bud. And last but not least, Mr. Jesse Stanley, please raise your hand. Jesse, what is it that you do? You said.
I think you're supposed to tell the good people that.
Jesse's a good friend, longtime friend, and business partner. Jesse and his brothers helped start the whole entire CBD industry. He'll do a snapshot of what that means and where it's at. Jesse is continuing his efforts on a public speaking campaign to educate people about hemp and CBD, to further advocate for accessibility for those who rely on CBD. There's a lot of people out there that need CBD, that use CBD, but don't have access to it. Jesse and his brothers are leading the world right now on getting people access to these products that they desperately need. So super grateful to be part of the mission of Charlotte's Web and the Stanley Brothers, and he's going to talk much more about that. But let's get into it. That was a long intro, but I hope it kind of paints a picture to you of these voices and why they matter and why we should all kind of just stop for a few minutes and listen, and then really gear up for some questions. Pepper them. Get ready. Start thinking about what is it that you need to ask them about their area of expertise. But we're going to start off with Jonathan Miller and talk about the legal landscape. I just been corrected and readjusted here. Thank you, everybody. That's why we're a good team. Let's start off with Joy Beckerman. Yes, exactly. We know who's in charge here. Joy is going to give us a snapshot, an overview of hemp, our history, and where we're at today. Take it away.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Jonathan. It's great to be here, and thank you, Charlotte's Web, for taking so many for the team as the CBD industry was created. What a revolution. So, not only did the U.S. government and globally, internationally, governments with the bullying of the United States want to remove the plant from our consciousness, the government wanted to remove all knowledge of the plant from our consciousness. So in 1985, a group of people led by Jack Herer, may he rest in peace, and another activist, very prolific, who is still with us, Chris Conrad, wrote a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. And they knew that America, and in fact the globe, but particularly America, had a very rich, jaw-dropping history with hemp. And they scoured our national archives, they scoured libraries, and remember this was back in the days when we didn't have word processors, so it was Xerox machines and border tape. And it's gone through several editions now, but created a book with all of the documents proving this rich history globally and in the United States of industrial hemp. And this book made its way across the country and across the globe, oftentimes being distributed through Grateful Dead tours. And because that was a traveling community of tens of thousands of people who were interested in planetary healing, and a lot of that information was spread through that music scene. And it created, in fact, started the movements. By 1990, Ohio Hempery was formed by a prolific activist and attorney named Don Wertschafter, and he imported the first post-prohibition bolts of hemp fabric. And also imported the first sterilized seeds from Inner Mongolia to the United States, bought himself a tabletop seed press, and pressed hemp seed oil out of those sterilized seeds from Inner Mongolia, and it was from that pressed hemp seed oil that the first hemp body care products and lip balms were made, creating the hemp body care industry. That was a company called the Merry Pranksters out of Southern Oregon. By 1994, retail stores start to be created. I opened up my hemp store, the first hemp store in the state of New York in 1994, with items from the Ohio Hempery and other wholesalers who had begun to pop up. And at that point, the Hemp Industries Association forms in 1994. So we're a quarter of a century years old, and we formed because we wanted to prove to the DEA that we would not divert resins or extracts into the illegal market, that we wanted a trade association, a professional trade association specific to low THC, non-intoxicating oil seed and fiber varieties of hemp. Again, we didn't have email at the time. Everything was done. We would get phone messages and letters, and folks would, administrative officers of the HIA at the time, would then create handwritten, typed up sheets that would then be mailed to the, at that point, maybe 20 members of the HIA. Of these are the messages that we're getting. Can you does your company, can you supply this person who wants to buy your product? Literally, the chopping of the wood and the carrying of the water of the creation of the hemp industry, one mailed newsletter at a time to these 20 members. In 1997, Dr. Bronner's grandsons, Michael and David, graduate respectively from Yale and Harvard, and they inherit the family soap business. Which had been around. It was actually inherited from Germany to the United States. Their grandfather, Emanuel Bronner, had taken the German company's hemp seed, soap company to America. And David decided in 1997, we're going to start to add hemp seed oil. For the first time ever in Dr. Bronner's soaps, began to create also this more established body care industry. And also in 1998, Canada federally legalizes, or highly regulates, but legalizes industrial hemp. And the HIA was actually very instrumental because we were getting so much more traction with the Canadian government than we were with the United States. And in fact, the HIA's first field day was held in 1999 in Ontario, Canada, with that first legal field. In 1999, Nutiva, founded by John Rulak, launches the Hemp Seed Company, and he starts out with 500 hemp seed bars. Now, at that time, we start to gain some traction. Dr. Bronner's, Nutiva, these stores are popping up occasionally, and the DEA in 2001, and maybe I'll have an opportunity to elaborate on this later if somebody asks a question about it, the DEA in 2001 put forth an interim interpretive rule stating that sterilized hemp seeds meant for human consumption and cold-pressed hemp seed oil would be Schedule I controlled substances. And they were just going to, even though those were the exceptions within our Controlled Substances Act, the mature seeds and the oil and the fiber, they wanted to make anything that was intended for human consumption to be a Schedule I controlled substance. And the HIA, along with Dr. Bronner's and Nutiva and Don Work Chapter and Roots Hemp Foods from Canada, who had a company here as well, sued the DEA twice. There were famous cases within the industry called Hemp 1 and Hemp 2, and we ultimately got the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to agree that the drafters of the definition of marijuana, the original definition, it's since been amended, and Jonathan will explain all of those legalities to us, clearly knew that there was naturally occurring THC on the seed and on the stalk, but made an exception for it and exempted those parts of the plant. And it took us 2 lawsuits to prove that to the DEA, but we won, the HIA won the case and actually preserved the entire hemp food industry for consumers, wholesalers, retailers, distributors, and importers for the United States of America. It's something I'm very proud of that we did. By 2014, now we're moving up 13 years, guys. We have 100 members in the HIA from 1994 to 2014, 100 members, and the Farm Bill passes in 2014, creating this legitimacy of industrial hemp research, or agricultural pilot programs to study the growth, cultivation, and marketing of industrial hemp. And industrial hemp was defined for the first time in U.S. history, distinguishing it from marijuana in that 2014 Farm Bill. And now we have even a better definition, so by 2014, the HI then creates chapter programs and then farming memberships. By 2015, we have 200 members, and we have our conference now in the first legal grown hemp field in the United States, post-prohibition and post the war, which was in Lexington, Kentucky. By 2013, we're up to 300 members of the HIA. We filed an administrative petition for the DEA to remove hemp from the Controlled Substances Act, which they, of course, never acted upon. They're the most stubborn, contumacious agency that I'm aware of, and so glad that they're in our rear mirror. And now we are removed from the Controlled Substances Act, but that was a legislative act and not our petition. And we held our first conference in Colorado in 2016, embracing hemp extract. Side note, it was underlying contention within the inner circles and founders of the HIA who said, this will be the downfall of the HIA if we embrace CBD, if we embrace extracts. After all, the whole reason why we formed was to separate ourselves from the resins of the plant and the extracts. And I'm so glad, and I personally was a very strong voice, as well as some others, that said, no, we are embracing hemp extracts. We are using the whole plant. These important properties, these non-intoxicating cannabinoids that are in this plant are incredibly important. America needs to have them, citizens need to have them in their body, and we are going to support this industry. And so that was a very big historic thing for us, that in 2016, over half of our educational content of our annual conferences revolved around hemp extract in Colorado. And Charlotte's Web is such a huge part of that, by the way. Without the funding, a lot of these industry leaders, whether it be Charlotte's Web, Elixinol, CV Sciences, Bluebird Botanicals, they put their money where their mouth is to the tune of tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars for advocacy work and to help the nonprofits that are chopping the wood and carrying the water to do that work. And there's no way we would have made it to Colorado without Charlotte's Web, who's just been a tremendous sponsor, and Gymkhana as well. By 2017, and we're coming up to the history, guys, we're at 500 members, and we filed a suit against the DEA for their marijuana extract rule for including Farm Bill compliant hemp in their definition of marijuana extract and ignoring that historical definition of industrial hemp that, again, created a seismic shift in cannabis policy within the United States by saying, hey, we now have an exception here, we can legally grow hemp. Well, by 2018, the end of it, guys, we were up to 1,000 members. We are now up to 1,700 members with about 100 new members a month. And we became partners with the U.S. Hemp Authority, which has, again, created the first current good manufacturing practices and good agricultural practices for hemp. The HIA became the training arm for that very important work, which is performed by another nonprofit entity, the U.S. Hemp Authority, which Jonathan Miller is also the general counsel of. Such an important piece for us to be able to differentiate high quality, quality assured and safe dietary supplements and food and cosmetics from those that are out there on the market that are not safe or quality assured and may not even be sourced from legal hemp. So that's very important. And our official advocacy partner, after many years of having an official advocacy partner of Vote Hemp, which has done tremendous work in our industry, the U.S. Hemp Roundtable became our official advocacy partner with the HIA, and we are just so pleased and proud of it. There have been so many heroes that have brought us up to this point, but now that we have a seat at the table, we need a huge, huge hero, and that hero is Jonathan Miller. So thank you for everything that the Roundtable and the Authority and the U.S. Hemp Farming Alliance does. I don't know what we would do without you, and every day I give thanks.
Yes, go ahead, Jonathan.
This one, joy is my shield. I learned that from my daughters. Hi, I'm Jonathan, and I'm a recovering politician. I was the state treasurer of Kentucky. I ran for governor. The people of Kentucky overwhelmingly decided that they didn't want me to be their governor. Two things about my political career. Number one was Kentucky's a conservative state, so it was safe for me to be reflectively anti-cannabis. I was against marijuana, and if you'd asked me, I would be against hemp because I didn't know the difference between hemp and marijuana. The other thing I want to tell you is that I probably was the most liberal Democrat ever to run for governor of Kentucky. One reason why I was not elected governor of Kentucky. But I tell you those two things because if you asked me as recently as 6 years ago, would I be traveling the country promoting hemp and praising Mitch McConnell? I would have said you were crazy. I would have believed the hemp maybe, but not the Mitch McConnell. But that tells you how this issue has become so bipartisan, so successful in the last few years, that really lends itself to what the legal regime is. Now, Joy went through this quickly. I'll give a little bit more meat on the bones. 2014, thanks to Senator McConnell and many others, Ron Wyden is a big champion from the Democratic side, the Farm Bill, the 2014 Farm Bill, contained language which created hemp pilot programs. And as of today, 46 states have set up or have authorized pilot programs. If you're wondering, Ohio is going to be 47 in a few weeks, we think. The three missing are Idaho, South Dakota, and Mississippi. So any of you from those states, let me know afterwards. The pilot programs were a huge success. So in 2018, the 2018 Farm Bill came before Congress. And again, Senator McConnell was able to amend the Farm Bill to include critical language which once and for all ended the era of prohibition on hemp. So now hemp is forever removed as a controlled substance. It is considered an agricultural commodity. And hemp is defined to include its extracts, cannabinoids, and derivatives, three words that also can be descriptive of one of the most popular extracts and cannabinoids, CBD or cannabinol. So, as a matter of law, federal law, hemp and hemp-derived CBD are legal. However, that's not the end of the inquiry. The Farm Bill does two things as well. It says that states can restrict the growth of hemp or restrict the sale of hemp products. So a state could say that you can't grow it in our boundaries. Again, those 3 states have not selected to do that, but they also can restrict the sale of hemp products. And while last year I was spending all my time traveling back and forth between my home in Lexington and Washington, D.C., lobbying on the Farm Bill, now I'm traveling all over to state capitals across the country to try to lobby legislatures to fully legalize hemp and hemp-derived CBD. We have found that every battle is different. I've been on the phone all morning with Joy's beloved New York State, and I got to tell you that General Assembly is a treat. But all of the progress we're making is forward. We haven't been seeing any backwards movement at all. In fact, we had 6 legislators from South Dakota in our offices in Lexington this week, and we think we'll see movement there. The trickier issue is the Farm Bill also says the FDA continues to maintain jurisdiction over the sale of hemp as a food or as a dietary supplement. And about 3.5 years ago, the FDA posted on its website a series of infamous questions and answers where they lay out their philosophy, their guidance, that hemp cannot be added to foods, hemp CBD cannot be added to foods, any CBD cannot be added to foods, or can be sold as a dietary supplement. Now, it's our position as an industry that that is just guidance. They haven't issued any formal regulations prohibiting the sale of CBD. We think their rationale for coming up to their conclusion is mistaken, and I'd spend an hour talking about why. And so we disagree that the federal law prohibits the sale of hemp-derived CBD. Unfortunately, a lot of states have taken that as the gospel, and we've seen in California, which is a huge cannabis state, as well as states like Ohio and others, who said, okay, this is what the FDA says, so you can't sell CBD as a food additive or a dietary supplement. Fortunately, the FDA has started on a pathway to fully recognize and legalize the sale of CBD as a dietary supplement or food additive. Initially, they said it would take 2 to 3 years. We are working with our friends in Congress to make that go more quickly. We're hopeful we can get it done in a year. And as Matt mentioned in his introduction of me, May 31st, I testified to the FDA at their first public hearing, along with dozens of other people, arguing for this path. We think in the long run there will be 2 paths for CBD. One, as a drug, Epidiolex is one of those, sold behind the counter, prescribed by doctors. You can make medical claims for those products. And the other as a dietary supplement, sold over the counter, health food stores, grocery stores, drug stores. No medical claims, no prescriptions, no insurance. We're hopeful that happens. The reason why, if you look at me, I looked a little bit tired, is that last week the FDA said, Jonathan, thank you for your testimony. We want to meet with you. And so yesterday, we had 12 FDA officials meet with the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. They took it very seriously. We spent an hour with them. We really think they're going the right direction. They don't know how to get there yet, but we are hopefully leading them on their way. After that meeting, we drove down the hill, met with Senator McConnell, Senator Wyden, our friends in the House, and they are now trying to figure out ways to make this path go quick. I'm going to stop there with just 2 notes. Number one, I'm happy taking questions about what this means on the state and federal level with the FDA. But if I can leave you with one thought, the reason why we've had so much incredible success is we've got great organizations in this industry like HIA, like the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, that have stirred up political action. But the real reason is because so many of you have taken action. The reason why Mitch McConnell, Ron Wyden, all these people have been so supportive is because they get calls and emails every day. And if I can ask you to do one thing, is to go to our website, which is hempsupporter.com, sign up to be a hemp supporter. It's free. Just your email and your zip code. We will then be able to put you on an email list and direct you towards our efforts at full legalization on the federal and state level. So please join us at hempsupporter.com, be a hemp supporter, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Trey Riddle, you're up next, my man. Tell us about Sunstrand and your expertise.
Okay, well, I mean, you kind of already told us about Sunstrand. Maybe I'll tell you about hemp fiber and what it can do in this building right here, and all the things you can put into the stuff that you have, from those chairs to your backpacks to the walls. There's a great opportunity in hemp fiber, and we're one company that's trying to make it happen. There are others. It starts at the farm level. It starts at the seed, proper selection of genetics. Like Joyce said, we haven't been growing hemp here for a long time. Although you forgot that part in the history of back in the World War when we were mandated to grow hemp, to support the war effort, and then how that all went away. So we've lost that historical knowledge on how to grow hemp. We've lost the genetic database to utilize for hemp. And back then it was, of course, all for fiber. Us as a company, we go from seed all the way to kind of application engineering, product development. It starts at the farm level, buying, contracting farmers to grow for us, to grow hemp varieties that are good for fiber, that grow 12, 15 feet tall. They bring it to our facilities in straw bales. It looks just like a straw bale. It's a stalk of the plant. We then process it in a large manufacturing center to separate the outer bast fiber and the inner woody core called the hurd. The outer bast fiber is probably what you're mostly familiar with. It's a thing that often gets turned into a cotton-like product and goes into the Patagonia workwear and t-shirts and whatnot. But it can also do a number of other things, like in plastics and composites. So right now, there's actually we're supplying the hemp fiber for a SUP paddle. So you'll see that come on the market here pretty soon, be a hemp fiber paddle for stand-up paddle boarding. So make sure y'all get one of those. I bet all of y'all's paddleboard, right? Yeah, that's right. Get a hemp paddle. Plastics. You mentioned Senator McConnell. Senator McConnell signed the Farm Bill with a hemp pen made with our hemp. And in that moment, Kentucky hemp changed federal law, which I think is pretty special. So you can do it in a lot of consumer goods. There's definitely an opportunity in automotive in a big way. There's some unique applications where you can reduce weight and you can reduce cost, but you can't do that everywhere. Hemp can't go everywhere and do everything, but it can compete against polyester, polypropylene, glass fiber very well. And inside some of those applications, there's giant opportunities. But today, we're doing an enormous amount of sales into the equestrian market for animal bedding. So you got the outer bast fiber and the inner woody core. That inner woody core, typically called hurd, is highly absorbent. It's dust-free. And it's a cherished option in animal bedding right now. Go to Walmart. If you got some gerbils, I bet all of y'all got gerbils. I'm pretty sure of that. Maybe your kids do. But 1,700 Walmart stores. There's a hemp animal bedding product there for small animals, rabbits and guinea pigs and the like. And Walmart is loving it. It sells about half as many units as their leading brand. It costs a little bit more, but it's virtually flying off the shelf in that regard. And those sales are growing and growing. They asked us to roll out to the rest of Walmart stores and to add a second SKU. So it's a very exciting development. That same hurd, that inner woody core, can be used in construction applications. Something called Hempcrete. I don't know if you heard of that, but you can build an integral wall system to replace insulation, to replace, in some cases, siding and drywall, and create a healthier home. Or we have a natural fiber product, a hemp fiber product, just goes in the wall like fiberglass. If you've ever installed fiberglass, it's just not a good time. It's a skin irritant. You want to get in your eyes. You definitely don't want to eat it. I've got some photos of like my 2-year-old daughter getting hit in the face with some hemp insulation. It's pretty amazing stuff, and works just as good as fiberglass. Same R value. So anyway, hemp can do a lot of stuff. We definitely got to find the right places where there's a performance and cost advantage for it. This is a great spot to be where you have early adopters, I think, that really want to see change in the products around them. Maybe sometimes don't mind paying a little bit extra, because sometimes that's what it takes to get the industry kicked off. So really appreciate everything you guys are doing for the hemp industry.
Trey, super exciting stuff. We're going to skip Jesse for a second and come right over here to Annie. If you could just give us an overview of what's happening in the Rodale hemp world.
Sure.
Rodale Institute's been around since 1947. We're located in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, and as Matt said, our role in creating the USDA organic seal was primary. Our executive director, Jeff Boyer, sat on board to make that seal come to be, and it was based on our research of 70 years showing that organic agriculture is better for human and planetary health. So when the 2014 Farm Bill passed, the state of Pennsylvania allowed us to have one of those permits, 16 permits to do research on our farm because of our long-standing work in the fields. And we have come to the hemp research with two goals, looking at weed suppression and also variety trials. So looking and seeing which kinds of hemp grows best in our particular climate. We're in our third of 4 seasons. We've just planted, I believe it was about 10 days ago, we planted our first crop of the year, and after 3 days it germinated, and I was told by the scientists yesterday it's already almost at hip height at 10 days. So it grows like a weed. And our work is primarily looking at soil health. Hemp is certainly a remediator. It was used after Chernobyl to clean the earth. And what we're finding is, of course, it's also a great crop for organic farmers to use in a crop rotation. It should not be planted monocrop style. Otherwise, it will strip the earth of all of those needed nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, for example. But it's an incredible tool for organic farmers to use in a crop rotation as a cash crop and also as a way to aerate the earth around it. And we're also looking at how hemp can be used as a cover crop for weed suppression for the next year's cropping. So I won't go into a lot of detail because I don't think there's probably a lot of agriculture interest, but if anyone has specific questions around our work, I'd be happy to answer them later.
Thank you, Annie. Appreciate that. Phil, set us up, Mr. Mad Agriculture. Let us know what's happening.
So, Phil Taylor, founder of Mad Agriculture, about 2 years old, inspired by Rodale. Our mission is to reimagine and restore our relationship to Earth. So we like to think of hemp within the arc of where humanity is going. Now, a crop is only as good as how it's grown and what kind of economy it creates. So over the last 200 years, the type of industrial economy that we've created as humanity, particularly in the Western world, has been highly extractive of the very foundation of what true wealth is, which is soil health. And so we've through the erosion of soil health, like literal erosion, the extraction of nutrients, we've had this sort of flourishing of an industrial economy to prop up what's been broken through pesticides and insecticides and fertilizers. And so for us, hemp and its evolution and reintroduction into our culture has to be positioned within a broader revolution of agriculture. We really need a regenerative revolution that not only restores the land, but also restores rural economy and sort of a holistic, true sense of what wealth is. Most of us in the city here are unaware of what's going on just 20 miles east of here, all the way to Pennsylvania, which is the worst farm economy since 1983. More foreclosures, lowest net income. Farmers are struggling in dire ways, and we need to have mechanisms to sort of pull them and invite them out of the industrial superhighway onto that country road again of diversification and restoration of soil health. And so what Mad Ag does is we work with farmers all across the country to design regenerative farm plans, which we call carbon farm plans. Carbon is really the center of our lives. It's the beautiful element. It's the fabric of our lives. It's the energy that we break. It's how we metabolize. Carbon is really everything for life. And so we design farms within a carbon context that really focus on giving back to the soil, because the more you focus on giving to the soil, the better your crops are going to be. And we see this time and time again. The modern agricultural economy is all about crop production and supporting that crop. And so we sort of invert it. You know, the modern ag economy has subverted the economy of nature fully. It's why we have climate change. It's why we have a gigantic dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. It's why we have, you know, rampant use of glyphosate. It's easy. It's a quick solution. And reinvesting back into the land is much more complicated, I would argue much more beautiful. So when it comes to hemp is a taker plant. There's givers and there's takers. You know, it's a remediator. It loves nutrition. It loves water. You know, it's why it grows really well in Kentucky. And we have to think about how it fits within a broader agricultural system that we view, you know, for humanity. And we have to be cognizant of those larger stories at hand. Like growing hemp in Colorado is a difficult thing when I think that what the land wants to be is full of bison. So as white people sitting in a place where the Lakota were 200 years ago, we have to ask the big questions of what does ag need to be within the arc of where we want to go as a civilization. And so that's the business of Mad Ag. We do work with some hemp farmers that are focused on building soil health, and in that process creating really high quality CBD, but it's all done within rotations. It's done within perennial systems with massive cover cropping. We have very strong data that our systems actively solve climate change through sequestering soil carbon, and we're helping about 35,000 acres of farmers across the country sell those soil carbon credits in the Nori marketplace. So we help farmers not only monetize the crop and tell that story for generations, we also give them access to ecosystem services platforms for water and carbon. I could go on, but I'll stop.
No, thank you so much, man. As you all can see, this is a super multifaceted category, and I hope you're getting ready for questions. Last up for this intro portion is Jesse Stanley. Jesse, tell us a little bit about what's going on in the world of CBD.
I can't hear myself. Hello? There we go. First of all, it's great to be up here with these experts. Hemp is a very, very old industry. Although it's known to a lot of people here, we've grown hemp as citizens. No? Is that better? Yeah. Good. Again, let me start over. I'm Jesse Stanley from Charlotte's Web. I was saying what an honor it is to be up here with these experts. I was saying that the hemp industry is a very old industry. We've been growing it for thousands and thousands of years. It's due to us now, due to prohibition and a lot of the reasons that John and Joy talked about. I gotta get this really close. I'm sorry about that. I had to kiss this mic. But it is an honor to be up here, and it's also an honor to be speaking to you guys. They've also kind of talked about the agriculture side of this, and hemp is fiber, and the legality of it, and some of the questions you can go to the Hemp Industry Association and the Hemp Roundtable, which are great resources if you're asking questions as a retailer, whether you want to bring in CBD or any products for that matter. I'll talk a little bit about the CBD industry, kind of how that got started, where we're at today, where we're going. Charlotte's Web specifically started with a little girl. Those that don't know the story, it's well documented. Just look up Charlotte's Web. We named it after a sweet little girl who is very dear to us and my brothers. That has now created sort of let's say a wildfire with many other brands, many other companies out there doing CBD. Our company specifically has experienced insane growth. Started with myself and my brothers. There's 7 of us, including myself. Now I believe there's over 330 some odd people in the Charlotte's Web family. Something I'm really proud of. The other thing I'm really proud of is how the industry has grown. Matt talked about all the other great companies that are downstairs, and I recommend you go check them out as well. CBD, cannabidiol, what it does. It's incredibly powerful. It's why a lot of people are here today. And it's also very misunderstood. There's a lot more information than there was whenever we started this 5-6 years ago. But still, people have questions. Is it for me? Is it something I should carry in my store? Well, the questions that we generally get the most are specific to sourcing. Sourcing is everything when it comes to hemp and CBD specifically.
And the question you should ask any brand that you're going to bring in as a retailer is where do you get that source? That's important for a couple of reasons. One, Phil mentioned that hemp is a remediary crop. It means that it pulls all of the stuff out of the earth. And that's a beautiful thing, but it could be a very bad thing if in that soil was heavy metals and all kinds of pesticides and other things. If a company doesn't know where they source, they don't know what's in that. They have to test for it. So it's from the start, seed, you should know where you're planting this. That's one. Two is, I'm a big believer in building our local economies and partnering with the farmers in wherever area you're at. Hemp is a crop that our farmers desperately need, specifically as it pertains to Kentucky with tobacco dying and it going to other countries. Farmers are desperate for something that's going to generate revenue. I'm proud of our company. We partner with local farmers in Oregon, Colorado, and in Kentucky. I know a lot of other companies out there do it. That's important because if you're sourcing your hemp from Romania or China or wherever it might be, they may be growing it sustainably and doing it responsibly, but how do you really know? Does somebody that buys, can they really fly over, ask specifically, get the testing, all that type of stuff? The other thing would be testing. Not all CBD is CBD. So it's important to know what's in it. Years ago, one of the main issues of the CBD industry was the fragmentation and how many brands were popping up overnight, saying what was in something when there was really nothing in it, because there was no regulation. Now, thanks to the Hemp Industry Association and the Hemp Roundtable, we're working on that. And the cream's sort of rising to the top here. So a lot of the brands that you see here today are probably doing it right, otherwise they wouldn't be here. Brands die overnight all the time. It's a very big industry. I believe the most recent numbers that came out by 2025, they expect the CBD industry to be $15 billion. That's pretty relevant if you're a retailer thinking, should I carry this in my store? For the future of CBD, the way I envision it, I believe in regulation, and we hope that regulation comes down and that the FDA looks at this. We hope that it's done responsibly, that it's not over-regulated. That's a large problem with most regulations, that they over-regulate something because of misunderstanding. But I do believe that this will be regulated, and we'll start to see a lot of the brands that are confusing people. I know that there's so many brands. I could name 100 right now, and I could probably name 100 that were here 2 years ago, and I won't be able to name the thousands that'll come in a couple of years. But I believe that we're coming to a common message of what CBD is and how it can help. And then I'll finish with, as an athlete or as somebody that's experiencing outdoor retailer, why it's important to you. CBD is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. It's a cannabinoid that works symbiotic with our body, triggering the endocannabinoid system. A lot of these questions that you probably will ask about this, please feel free to come downstairs and ask Charlotte's Web or many of the other brands about this. I won't belabor the endocannabinoid system too much. But it's so important because of what it triggers in our body. And most of the things that we deal with from an inflammation standpoint cause most of the maladies that we deal with. And that is why people take CBD for so many different things, and why you've heard people say it helps my sleep, it reduces stress, or it reduces exercise-induced inflammation. It sounds crazy that it helps all those things, but there's a specific reason why it does, and it's why people are clamoring for it. People are tired of taking opiates. They're tired of taking ibuprofen. They want something natural that's sustainable and environmentally friendly. And I believe that CBD is going to, not only today, solve a lot of our issues, but in the future it's going to open doors for other cannabinoids that we need to study, that we need to get out there and be forward-thinking on before the pharma comes in and starts making single compounds and making all of these things drugs that I believe are generally recognized as safe. Other than that, please feel free to come down and talk to us at Charlotte's Web booth number something or other. It's downstairs and with all the other brands that have a wealth of information as well. And I'm excited for any questions you guys have.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, just to iterate on that point, downstairs, section B, CBD wellness is how it's labeled. They're out towards the food trucks, and as Jesse said, there's multiple brands that are definitely worth your time and checking out. I hope you're kind of catching the grip here that hemp is a true category disruptor. It is entered into the outdoor retailer world, and it's not going to go away. Let me just use a pun, it's going to take root, man, and it's already going. Like Annie was talking about, these things go fast. Why, last year there was just a couple CBD companies at this show. This year there's over 20, I believe. At least that's what I've been told. I hope I didn't miss anybody's names earlier. If I did miss your brand or your company, please forgive me. Make yourself known after this. But please get your questions ready. Kim, should I just walk around with this, or is there a different microphone we should use? Cool. So, does anybody have any questions immediately? Let's do it.
This is my first exposure to hemp, so thanks for all the information. I know a lot more already. I'm interested in replacing the polyester in my bags with hemp fiber. I don't know if there's any exhibitors here that the man in the pinkish shirt, if you have a